George, how are you?
I'm good, Sheila. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Okay. George, I understand FEMA, the USACE, and it's DEMA also, and the city are involved with points of distribution. Could you please describe that to me?
Sure. Points of distribution are used by local emergency management, federal emergency management, and state emergency management to get commodities out, life-sustaining products, water, ice, food, out to a community after a disaster that might be affected and that cannot get out and get those. Stores being closed, properties being damaged and all like that, where they can't get out and get the normal things they need.
Okay. Now, how does, you call it pod, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are they set up and how are they operated?
Pods are operated in several different ways. We can typically use a drive-through pod to where citizens just drive through a designated area. In the areas in the city, it might be Frawley Stadium, it might be Rockford Park, where we can get cars through without interrupting any traffic. That where they can drive through, they just drive through. We supply them, each car, with supplies for a household of 3, typically. They just drive through, there's no questions asked, we give them and they go. We try to do that to try to handle all the numbers that we might have based on the area of the disaster.
So when a person pulls up, do they have to show some identification to say, I live in Wilmington here?
No, as you know, Sheila, disasters have no geographical boundaries. If they're going to affect it, we work closely with the Newcastle County to where if we can cohabitate one location that'll handle the affected areas, it's more efficient to have that in one area. It might be at the end of the city line. We talk about Frawley Stadium and how it's accessible to 95. You know, we might let county people come in. We do not care as long as those people coming in are affected by the disaster. Typically they would. We do not require IDs. We might ask them a question or something like that, how they got notified or something. But our notification of them and the way we would publicize the locations of the pod would only go out to the areas that are affected.
How much food did you say is given out?
Well, we do supply each vehicle, or even sometimes people walk up with enough food and water to supply a household of 3. Now, if there's a substantiated factor in the home, we can give them more. You know, it's not a problem. We just want to make sure they have enough, again, for our sustainability. They need to sustain themselves, so we need to get that to them.
For how many days?
Well, we would probably try to do at least the 3 days. We use a gallon of water per day, per person. So we would do that. So we try to do for 3 days. Figuring by the population of Wilmington are 70,000 sleeping, 26,000 households, that we figured we could run them through a pod or through this event. We could get them through within 3 days. And then if we needed to, we could start over. But hopefully our recovery would start by then. We would start opening up sites where they can get out to the stores, opening roads and stuff like that.
Okay, but it's usually one location. Example, Frawley Stadium. Would there be another location at the other end of the city?
There possibly could, based on the disaster and based on the numbers we think and how fast we need to get it out. We could use other locations. We could make a level 1 pod or level 3 pod, no matter how many cars we need, and we would put them in sites of the disaster. If it was more localized that we had to do that, we could do that. We could set them up at Hicks Anderson Center, or maybe the Powell Center in North Wilmington, or one of our regular little smaller parks that are only affected by an area. As long as we have the area to get the vehicles in without trying to make the traffic, not being able to get around, we would set that area up. Another way we would get them out is for people who can't get out. Some of our seniors high rises and stuff like that. We are going to use our Parks and Recreations, our Public Works Department, to actually pick the number of units. We use Baynard Apartments as one, has 100 units in it. We know that. We have a plan set aside for them already to get them enough for 100 units.
So you call this mobile?
We call that the mobile, where we would deliver the mobile, the equipment, the supplies, the sustainability. We would mobilize that and take it to certain specific locations, nursing homes, so much, places, and churches maybe, that where the people can walk up easier to the community and get it rather than walk to Frawley Stadium. We could take that to a local church and have the church, they know the neighborhood, they know the people, and it's going to be a lot easier for them to get there rather than across town or something like that.
And what if there was an evacuation and people were all out of their homes and they couldn't shelter in place?
Mm-hmm.
Do you take the food to them there? Or?
Typically, any people that we would have in one of our shelters, we would take there. If it was needed when they come back in the area, hopefully when we, reoccupy the area, we would think they would need water because the water is not established, we would make a pod for on their way back into that area, that evacuated area. We would give them the supplies while they're going back in. That way when they got home, they'd have enough, at least we know the emergency, because with them going back, they wouldn't know how much of their home is destroyed until after they get there.
If I pulled up, I'm getting one meal per day for 3 days. I just want to get that straight.
Yeah, no, we would give you probably a case of meals for the 3 days. A case of meals, a family of 3, probably be for at least 12 to 15 meals.
Oh.
So it would not just be a single meal for the 3 days.
Okay.
We would give you a little bit more. When we do test the pods, though, we sort of try to hold the commodities down because because there's not a declaration declared. We just don't have all these supplies sitting around just to give out to test our system.
How long has this been in practice?
Well, it's became necessary to distribute commodities. I would say it really came to light after Katrina.
Okay.
Hurricane Katrina, that we're trying to manage these things instead of people just bringing things and picking it up somewhere. The pods allow for the local emergency managers to manage this system, for them to make the requests based on their population and their needs, and us to get that out to that population.
Okay, that seems very clear.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you could add to this?
Well, like we just wanted to let everybody know, we do have a plan for distributing supplies. They will be notified of the plan by one of our city's notification systems. It'll be on our website, it'll be on the radio, it'll be on our TV channel when we do this, where the locations are, and hopefully we can run these segments so people know what to expect when they get there. Our plan is not to have them delayed a long time, but we figure we can handle at least 300 to 500 cars maybe within an hour and a half. So right there, that answers 1,500 people. That's a pretty good turnaround. So then we could enlarge our pod site based on the volume of cars we think we would get.
Now, and if someone wanted to call and say, I heard, but I haven't been able to get this information from the media, my TV's down, radio, is there a number for them?
There would always be, they could always call our 576 city number, the constituent service number, that provides all the services that the city would have during a disaster. They would give them that information. If we're in the Emergency Operations Center, that number automatically transfers over to our Emergency Operations Center, and we can give them firsthand information.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, George.
Thank you again. It's a pleasure, and thank you for your support for this program.
Anytime.